Welcome to this lecture. Today we will begin with a new chapter related to comparison and selecting between alternatives. Since we have learned how to assess a single project, now we are ready to compare several projects together in order to choose which one is the best from the financial aspect. Now, first of all, we have to define the type of alternatives that we have. We might have a set of mutually independent projects. This means that these projects are not related to each other. I can do them all if I have the proper budget for it. But the other type, which is mutually exclusive, this means that I'm gonna choose one and only one project from this set of alternatives. Let's say, for example, in a certain area, I have the problem of traffic, and I want to solve this problem so I can build a bridge or a highway or a tunnel. So I need to choose only one alternative. It's not logical to choose them all. So here in this case, I'm choosing one project among a set of mutually exclusive alternatives. So when I choose one, it eliminates all the rest. Now, sometimes we might have alternatives related to investments. So this means I have the initial investment and a positive cash flow. And sometimes it's all about costs. We don't have any revenues except for the final salvage value that I might get, which is a positive amount of money. Let's begin with the first example. Here I have two alternatives, mutually exclusive alternatives. So I need to choose only one of them. We have alternative A that has an initial investment of $100,000 and it has annual revenues less expenses. This means that this is the annual revenues minus annual expenses. I got the resultant value, which is $34,000. And I have the second alternative B, which has initial investment of $125,000 and revenues less expenses of $41,000. Now I want to choose which project is better. So I will get the present worth of A and the present worth of B, and the greatest will be the chosen alternative. So here you see that the present worth of A is minus initial investment, which occurs at P0. So I will add it right away, but don't forget the negative signs, and it's something paid, plus $34,000, which is the annuity. So P equals A into P knowing A, 10% and 5 years. So I chose the present worth of B because it was greater than A. Now another example, which is related to cost alternatives. Here I only have costs. So you will see that I have capital investment of minus 80,000 and annual expenses of minus 25,000. So no positive payments. So I will get the present worth of C and the present worth of D, and I will choose the one that has the least cost. Okay, so here by comparing present worth of C and D, I will choose alternative D, since the cost of D is less than the cost of C. Now this was the first method of comparison, using the present worth and choose the one that will give me the highest worth or the least cost. We have another method for choosing the best alternative, which is related to incremental analysis. Now the word increment means the extra, okay, the additional part, okay. So this means that if I have several alternatives, it's better to choose the one with the least alternative if it's gonna do the same purpose. Now, what if the increment, which is the amount of money that you're gonna pay extra, by choosing another alternative, what is it? What if this increment is justified? This means that you will choose the alternative that doesn't have the least cost, because this amount of money that you're paying extra is more justified, will give you more benefit at the end. So this is the increment analysis. So we have some steps in order to use the incremental analysis. First of all, we will have to rank the alternatives in order. According to what? According to the initial investment. So I will arrange them in order according to the initial investment. The one that has the least initial investment will be ranked as first. Then the second one is the next highest first cost investment, the next in order. So what will I do? I will get B minus A. What is B minus A? It is the increment. Okay, I will subtract the highest cost from the lowest cost. I will refer to the lowest cost as the base alternative. Now, when I subtract the values, you'll have to imagine that this B minus A as if I had a new cash flow diagram. Okay, and now this new cash flow diagram has to be assessed. Is it a good investment or not? How do I determine if it's a good investment or not? If the present worth is positive. So if I got the present worth of B minus A and the value was positive, this means that B will be better than A, so I will choose B. So here the increment is justified. Now, here this is a summary of the method. As we said, we will rank alternatives from smallest to largest, subtract the cash flow of the lower from the higher. Then we will determine if this increment is attractive or not. We will use two methods to do that. We will either compare the present worth. If it's positive, then I will say that it is attractive, or I will use the IRR. If the IRR is greater than the MAR, then I will say that it is attractive. Now, if the increment, I mean by the increment here, the higher ranked alternative, not the base, is attractive, this means that it wins. So the lower rank, okay, will go out of the comparison, which is here the base alternative. So I will decide which one will win the comparison. Now, let's see this example to be able to understand better. Here I have three alternatives, okay, F1, F2, and F3. And I want to use incremental analysis to decide which one is better. So the first step is arranging these alternatives in order according to the initial investment. So the first one has an initial investment of $110,000. So this is the base alternative. The second one is $125,000. You see, I'm ranking them in order. So F3 is $138,000. Okay. Now, don't tell me that the investment here is negative, so I have to reverse the order. No, you look at the amount of the investment and then you arrange them according to the amount of money that you're gonna pay. So this is the correct order. Now, the second step after arranging them is in order and deciding that F1 is the base alternative is to start using the incremental analysis. So I will have to subtract F2 minus F1. So by subtracting F2 minus F1, this means that I will subtract all the values. What do I have? The initial investment. Here I will look at the minus sign, okay? With the ranking or ordering, okay, you just say that this is the investment, the second one has a higher investment, and the third has a higher investment, so this is their order. Okay, now when I want to subtract the values, I will keep in mind that these are investments, so it's something paid, so it has the negative sign. So when I say F2 minus F1, you'll have to keep in mind that it is minus 125,000. You see it's in brackets. This means that it has a negative sign. Minus $110,000. So the resultant is minus $15,000. Now, here we have the same useful life. The life of the alternative is 10 years. They are the same. The total annual expenses for F1 is 53,800. Here it's only expenses, so it's also negative. And for F2 it is minus 51,625. So when I subtract these values, minus 51,625 minus 53,800, I will have a positive value, which is 2,175. So you'll have to consider that as if this is a new cash flow diagram. So if I draw it, you will see that we have minus 15,000 as investment, and we have an annuity of 2,175, and it's lasting for 10 years. So what should I do? I will have to get the present worth of this new cash flow diagram. If the resultant value of the present worth is positive, this means that F2 is better than F1. If the result was negative, then you will have to say F1 is still better. So F1 remains the base amount, and I will have to compare it to F3. Now here, by looking at the present worth at 15%, you will see that the result is minus $4,084. So this is negative. This means that who wins in this comparison? The one that has, you see here, I'm subtracting F2 minus F1. So F2 minus F1, the present worth of F2 minus F1 was negative. So which one is better? F1. So this means that F1 wins in this comparison, and I need to compare it to F3 to see which one is better, F1 or F3. So you see here, the new column is the difference between F3 and F1. So by subtracting the values of F3 minus F1, I'm comparing the value of 138,000 related to F3 initial investment with the initial investment of F1, 110,000. So F3 minus F1 is the same way as we did with F2 minus F1. You will see that minus 138,000 minus 110,000 will give me a value of minus $28,000. Now I want to subtract the total expenses as well. So I will say minus $45,033 minus 53,800. So I will have a positive value of 8,767. Now if you look here, the present worth of F3 minus F1, considering that this is a new cash flow, you will see that the value is positive, 15,999.5. And this is related to F3 minus F1. So the present worth of F3 minus F1 was positive. This means that F3 is better than F1. So you will choose among these set of mutually exclusive alternatives. The best one was F3.